Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of the Future Proof Podcast. I'm so excited to be joined today by my friend and colleague, Jenn Junkin. Jenn, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm excited to be here too.
Yeah, this came up because we were talking about this concept of PG Tuesdays, of Pipe Gen Tuesdays, and this is a concept that's very popular for especially people that practice like a force management or medic type house, and you have been in the sales shops that run this process. So we want to learn from your experience. What's great about this? What's hard about this? And just kind of get your POV on things. Before we do that though, tell us who you are, where have you been, and what do you do now?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am Jenn Junkin. I have been selling for almost 20 years. So I started, selling, cold calling, reaching out to CFOs. And that was my first job, making 100 plus phone calls every single day. Back then we had a CRM and you had a landline. We didn't have any of the fluffy, wonderful things that we have today. We go way back, but I've been selling for a long time. I spent a good amount of time at Yelp pre-IPO and was able to be there through a really exciting time of going public. I spent a good amount of time at Salesforce as well as ServiceNow. And I was at an AI startup for quite some time called MoveWorks. And then I spent some time at Navan before coming to Copy.ai about, almost 2 months ago.
Beautiful.
So.
Okay, so you've been at some of the highest flying SaaS companies out there. You've been a part of the AI wave now for a number of years. So let's double click into PG Tuesday, Pipe Gen Tuesday. What is it? What are its core concepts, and how does it actually work in practice when you're a rep that's operating under the thumb of PG Tuesday?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been part of organizations that have had a very centralized view on prospecting for probably over 10 years. But I think PG Tuesday specifically is wonderful because it basically takes the whole go-to-market organization and focuses everyone in on a specific day where we are all about producing pipeline, right? And so the goal is that if you have that focus and that cadence every single week, that you will have a predictable, consistent amount of pipeline always coming in. So that's the high level focus of it. In practice, you are doing a lot of preparation to make sure that you're building your 5x5, you know who you're reaching out to, you have a good story, you understand the contact, you understand the accounts, and then also that you are aligned with your go-to-market counterparts, right? So you're all producing the same message out to your prospects.
Nice. Okay, so the problem with pipeline generation, especially with a lot of account executives, is that it can be pretty lumpy. Every account exec knows that they should always be prospecting, but the reality is once you get your teeth into some active deals, it's very easy to lose sight of the top of funnel work that you need to do to worry about 6 months from now when you've got these juicy deals that you're trying to work right now to hit your quota in this quarter and next. And so at many companies, it's like a roller coaster where reps go from having great pipelines and then closing all the deals and then having to start from complete scratch. So the goal of Pipe Gen Tuesday is to normalize that. And maybe there's still some bumps here and there, but hopefully we're flattening the curve, to use a COVID term, flattening the curve a little bit and making sure, as you said, that the pipeline generation is more predictable. Is that a fair summary?
Yeah, 100%. And I've been there as a rep where I'm doing really well. I'm closing a lot of deals. I've taken my foot off the gas and 6 months later, I don't have deals. And so what I love about PG Tuesdays is having that predictability and knowing that I'm going to dedicate myself to doing PG at least once a week on that day. So
what is a 5x5? You mentioned that. What is that concept?
Yeah. So that concept is you take 5 accounts and then you take 5 contacts within each account and you create a focus area with those. And so it sort of tiers off, right? You're building it usually around, when I've done it, I have 25 to 40, target accounts. And so you're doing research, 1 week on your, 25 contacts. The next week they go into a sequence and they make their way through the sequence. And then, when that first 5 is in this, or first 25 is in the sequence, you're doing research on the other one. So it's just a consistent motion that you're making sure that you're not just reaching out in a single way within your contacts, that you're being multi-threaded as well.
Makes a lot of sense. Okay, so you've mentioned a couple times, this is great, it's wonderful, sales leaders love it, we're smoothing out the way that pipeline is created and all the rest. But in practice, there are some headaches involved in actually executing this process. And I think when we were talking before, Jenn, you said something to me like 70% of your time was spent on doing account research. That is a lot of time spent on account research. So talk to us about what maybe some of the headaches are from a rep perspective on executing this wonderful plan that is PG Tuesday.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's interesting. The pain doesn't lie in the actual day of Tuesday. Like that's the fun and exciting day when you're building the pipeline. I'd say a lot of the challenges and pain really has to comes in when you're doing the upfront preparation, right? Because you are doing account research very heavily, very deeply. You are going through 25 different contacts, scouring LinkedIn, understanding who they are, why they would even want to have a conversation with you. And then you also have to make sure that you're aligned with your go-to-market counterparts, right? Making sure that ideally marketing is, coming out with the same message, and you're working with an SDR or BDR. Are you aligned on how you're reaching out? So there's a lot of manual work that goes into that, and it's hours of time, right? That's taking me away from other things that are also important. But I need to be focused on that PG Tuesday aspect as well. So it's a challenge.
And so the interesting thing, so on top of the time savings, you mentioned like one of the goals of PG Tuesday is to get cross-functional alignment from marketing and SDR and all the rest. That sounds great. My impression, and you correct me if I'm wrong, is that actually getting an account-based marketing person or a demand gen person or whomever it is you're supposed to be working with to create the custom assets that you need for every single one of your accounts is never going to friggin' happen. Like, it's never going to happen. Am I wrong about that?
I haven't really seen it happen in practice. I think we try, right? And I think part of that has to do with the fact that a lot of it is manual. And oftentimes I'm building my account plan and I'm doing my contact research in a Google Doc over here. And marketing is doing something over here. And my SDR might be doing, their research somewhere else. And so just we're set up in a disconnected way.
Yeah.
We're almost not set up to have that streamlined message.
That information sharing piece is, and actually before I move on to this, I don't mean to point the finger at marketing people and say that, oh, you're the bottleneck here. The reality is they're just as busy the same way that you are, Jenn, like working deals, they are busy executing other campaigns. And because there is so much manual work that's required to execute a truly account-based strategy across sales and marketing, like it just ain't gonna happen. Like it's just too hard to create all of those different assets. Now, the interesting thing, and I was talking to somebody recently who was trying to execute this strategy, and they were aligned on the account that they should do research into, except their SDR created the account plan in Google Docs. Good job, SDR, collaborative. The AE created their account plan in their Notes app on their Mac. Bad job, AE, zero collaboration there. And then the marketing person created an account plan inside of the CRM. And so all three of them created account plans in different areas and triplicated, is that a word?
Yes.
All of the research that needed to be done. And that is a misuse of time as well. So now we're talking about all of this in a world before AI. And so now we get to do the fun contrast, Jenn, to a day in the life for you now. We at Copy.ai do not have a PG Tuesday day. Talk us through what we do have and the before and after sort of version of what your day-to-day looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. And I still do PG Tuesday in practice. It's something that's worked for me. I've learned it from, the best leaders out there. So I like to focus and make sure the same way that I always have pipeline coming in. Having said that, I like to say that I get to read the book rather than write it. And what I mean by that is the account research, the contact research, building a 5x5, being really on point. You have to do that because everybody is doing that. All the salespeople are doing that. And we're all vying for time with the same executive. So they're getting more outreach than they've ever gotten before. And so I think historically that account research, maybe was a differentiator. I would say it's table stakes now. I think the real differentiator is speed, consistency, and the ability to connect with people, the ability to verbally have a conversation with someone, to cold call them, to have them pick up out of the blue and be able to convince them to take a meeting with you. That is very, very, very hard and takes a lot of practice and a lot of role playing. And so now I wake up, Tuesday morning, and I have the account research that has been streamlined for me. I have the contact research that has also been streamlined for me. And I have the people that I should be reaching out to, as well as emails that have been written for me. when I say that I get to actually read the book instead of write it, I haven't written all of that. And I think it's can be a provocative statement. I think a lot of folks think that, hey, the research is where you learn. But I would argue what I'm actually still deeply thinking, and I'm critically thinking even more because I can read it. It's right in front of me. So I'm spending my time doing that. I'm looking at the emails. I'm still editing them. There's a human component of it, but I'm able to move faster. I'm getting in front of more people. I'm having more conversations. I'm producing more pipeline. And I'm doing it in a predictable and consistent way. And that's the whole point of PG Tuesdays anyway.
100%. So we have internally, we have Copy AI that's powering workflows to codify what does great account research look like. So we codify that all in a workflow one time, and then we run that workflow across all 1,800 of our top accounts, 100 of which you own, Jenn. So now you don't have to do that account research. That information is delivered to you on a silver platter. That does not mean that you don't think. You still have to read and consume the information. You have to understand the research, understand the sales angles that were brainstormed by the AI. But that is the part where you get to be thoughtful and strategic and creative. And then similarly, we have AI workflows that are finding the right contacts for you, the 5x5, and doing all the research and intelligence on the contacts to author really good first drafts for sales outreach. And again, like you said, you still need to be thoughtful about doing the quality assurance on those emails, making sure they're all pitch perfect and everything, and then doing the send. This hopefully unlocks time for you to do the more high touch, white glove type outreach, the social selling, the cold calling, the video messaging. So how is your mix changed from a channel perspective? Maybe in the past, it sounds like it's very email focused because that was basically what you had time for. What do you have time to do now as a sales rep in your outbound strategy?
Yeah. I mean, I think calling is still, a really important aspect, and it's an art. Like I said, it's very difficult to call somebody out of the blue and get them to speak with you. And so I get to focus in on that. I get to do the social selling aspect that you talked about. So I think LinkedIn is a really great and powerful way to get in front of people and to be more thoughtful. And what I love and the kind of the way I think about it is I view some of the best leaders that I've worked for and worked with when they come in and they, get on calls with me. I've created the account plan or the preparation doc, but they read the doc and then they get on and they do insightful discovery and they negotiate and they verbally communicate better than anybody. And that's the way that you learn. And I think for them, they still critically think about what I had created. And that's what I'm able to do. I'm freeing up my time to prepare for my presentations, to role play, because the best reps that I've worked with and leaders and folks in sales, they're the people that can have the human to human connection. And again, that comes from practice as well, right? So I'm not burning my time doing the low velocity work. I'm spending all my time on the high velocity work.
That is a great way to phrase it. Like spending time. And a lot of people will have that objection that you brought up, Jenn, which is like, oh, well, now my reps aren't thinking. My response to that is no. Now your reps aren't mindlessly Googling. Like you just spend so much time. Like, is this the right Google search I should be doing? And then I need to read through the top 10 articles and then finally find the one that has some nugget in it. Now you don't have to do that stuff anymore. It doesn't mean that you don't still go read that full article. It means it doesn't take you an hour to find the article. It's delivered to you. So now the question is, in a past life, you spent roughly 70% of your time doing this account research. What is that number now, roughly speaking? It's not zero.
No, a couple hours. I mean, a week, it's much less, right? Maybe, 5-10% of my time. So it's shrunk significantly. For sure. So.
And it's all focused on the strategic execution that you're able to do, preparing yourself, preparing other people. And I've been in meetings with you and you're like, hey, Kyle, before this meeting, read this. I'm like, great. And that's prepared to have an impactful conversation because you've given me everything that I need. And so I love that. I will kind of take this in a slightly different direction, representing the marketing team here. What's so beautiful about this is we're doing all the account intelligence, we're generating the sales angles, we're doing the same thing for contacts, suggesting use cases, all the rest. All of that information is in our CRM. So it's very easy for me to architect account-based marketing plays for these accounts. So Jenn is working this account. She's got a first meeting coming up. First meeting goes great. Okay, that triggers our multi-thread ABM strategy to go. So now I can run that account intelligence and those sales angles through a workflow that creates a landing page. and custom emails and custom ads and long form content and all the things that I need to provide marketing air cover to the broad set of buyers inside of Jenn's account so that as she's working the deal, they have familiarity with Copy.ai, with what we do, and just hopefully creating a smoother glide path for Jenn and getting that deal done. And that, from a marketing standpoint, used to take a tremendous amount of time where I could maybe manually do like 2 accounts per week. Now I can do 2 accounts in 15 minutes. And it's just absolutely wild how beneficial that is for our conversion rates, for our win rates, and all the rest.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think about it from the prospect shoes, right? When you're not aligned, they're getting a mixed match of messages from all different people within your organization. And so from them, like now they're getting the same consistent message from everybody, right? And the conversion is higher. So
a unified buyer experience.
Yes.
And I'm so glad you said that because it's so easy for us all to talk about like what's optimal for us. Like we want to run a great cycle and we want to make it easy for our reps and our marketing teams. And so often what gets lost is, are we doing what's right for our buyers and for our customers? And the answer, the nice thing about what you and I just talked through is that the answer is yes to both. Easier to execute for the sales and marketing team, easier to consume for the buyer and the customers. Like that's a win-win.
Yep. The customer's at the center. So I learned that at Salesforce a long time ago. Like the customer is at the center of everything that you do. And so I think it can be easy, like you said, to forget about that when we're caught up in, all these other things that we have to do to get there. But ultimately, it's about what we're doing right now. It's about talking to people, having a conversation, asking them questions. And what's interesting is a lot of the really great information you find out isn't the publicly available information. It's once you get someone on a call and you're having a meeting, it's the really insightful discovery. And that's where you find the things out that you really need to know about them. So
100%. All right, Jenn. Well, thank you so much for the time. That was really interesting, really helpful. That is kind of the from to that we're helping companies experience around PG Tuesday. It's not just a sales exercise. It is a go-to-market exercise, but let's focus on the activities. Let's focus on the execution. Let's make sure that sales and marketing teams have what they need to actually generate pipeline and not just get stuck in a rut of doing research endlessly. So thank you, Jenn. You're the best. We will talk soon.
Awesome. Thanks, Kyle.
Bye now.
Bye.